In this video, we're going to talk about Nurbs modeling and also about poly modeling. So we're going to start to use some of the editing tools that we can use together with the Nurbs modeling tools that we have seen so far. So we used different types of modeling tools. We used extrusion and revolve, loft, and sweep, and we created some examples here of Nurbs objects. So we will see what we can do further, how we can actually continue to model and customize our shapes and objects using Nurbs, but also we will introduce the Polygonal modeling as well, which is based on similar concepts and similar functions. Now the main difference is that when we create Nurbs modeling objects, we usually start from 2D, from curves, and then from the curves we generate surfaces, and then we can generate also more complex surfaces and poly surfaces, which means assembly of surfaces, and then solids. So we usually start with curves and then we proceed with surfaces, as we saw also previously in other videos. Now the difference between Nurbs and Polygon, the main difference is that when we do Polygon instead, we will start directly with a solid and then model from sub-objects, which are vertices, edges, and faces. Now, we will continue a little bit more with the Nurbs modeling, and we also saw that we can use history, the history function that will help us to go back and re-edit, change, modify the results. For example, here we created a tent or a curtain using curves, and if we modify the initial curve, we can modify the result object. Same as the base here that we modeled before using a curve and tracing the image, and then we use the revolve tool. So we also saw how we can use images and references, which could be directly from Adobe Illustrator, from AutoCAD, or from other websites like Images. Now the first thing here, if we turn on the live snap that we saw also earlier, we use that with work planes. If we turn that on, you can directly draw curves on objects. So you can use 3D objects to create more curves based on those surfaces. So all you need to do when you activate the live surface is to select a surface. You can see there on the top that is telling me that I have selected that. Now that's no live surfaces, and that's lofted surfaces. So that's the one that we created earlier. And then when that's active, I can directly draw on that object. So it's like I am creating curves, but this time not using a work plane or a grid. So this is not planar, but it's based on the position of those Nurbs surfaces, on those structure in the Nurbs object. So this is really interesting because then we can open a new set of opportunities, because we can really use the 3D objects to generate other 2D curves, and then from those 2D curves we can generate other 3D objects and so on. Now let's make another example here. I'm creating a circle or a square. So in this case actually it's a square, and I am creating like 2 centimeter times 2 centimeter square, and I will apply, and there you go. So I want to project that shape onto the surface, onto the Nurbs surface. So that's my shape right there. Well, I will remake it, and I want to make it in Z orientation, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, so you can see there now it's oriented frontally, and I can move it in the front here. There you go. I'm gonna move it there so that it's in front of my curtain, and so that's the object where I want to project, and that's the object that I want to project. So first select the square, then select the surface, and then go to project curve on surface. So you can directly click there, or you can go up on the toolbar, click, and that's it. So that's your 2D curve projected onto the 3D surface. And again, now I can decide what I want to do with that, and I can do a bunch of things. I can, for example, trim out a piece on that surface using the trim, or I can use the intersect if I want to create more curves. Well, in this case, I'm going to use trim and untrim. So first of all, I'm going to select both and click on trim, and that's it. So I'm creating, you can see there, an extra surface inside the existing surface. So I will keep, well, I need to select which one I want to keep, and I'm gonna click on the outside, and it's gonna leave me the rest and take off that little piece from the existing curtain. And again, follow the instructions on the bottom of the screen. Gonna help you to understand better what you're doing. And if you do untrim, you're gonna just, well, it's kind of doing the redo, but this time it's gonna untrim basically. So trim and untrim. Now for the intersect, we just need a couple of objects that need to intersect with each other. So I'm creating here a sphere, Nurbs sphere, and a Nurbs cylinder. And let's move this aside so we can see that right there. Okay, so in this case, I'm not using a curve to create an object, or an object to project a curve or other things that we already seen, but I'm using two solids, well, two objects. The cylinder is not actually a solid, but it's a polysurface, open polysurface. So I'm using one closed polysurface and one open polysurface to create a curve, which will be there where the two objects intersect with each other. So just want to choose here a location for the intersection. Maybe I will make this a little bit larger. So like I can create an astronaut helmet, or I don't know, something industrial design, things like that. I'm just doing some examples here, not really creating anything. So first of all, I'm gonna trim, and that's gonna, I'm gonna intersect, and I now have to choose what I want to get rid. I want to get rid of the cylinder. So you can see there, that's my curve, which has been created from the intersection of those two. And then again, I can use that as a trimming object. So if I select both, go to the trim again, and then click on the surface that I want to keep, and then assign the command. And you can see there I have an empty sphere, or a sphere with a hole, and I can see inside. So could be the beginning again of an helmet or something like that. Now another thing that we can do with the Nurbs is go into the structure and select the Isoparm or the borders, and or select the curve. But the Isoparm are like curves, so right now when I get that, I can go here and edit those curves.